Let me make her mad. She's going to undress, walk naked through campus until I return. Bolts of light were coming from her eyes and were hitting me. Then I knew now it's battle.
James from Uganda came as a special gift from a priestess to a mother who already had 6 girls and so desperate to have a son, just to satisfy the quest for her husband to have an heir. James ended up being an agent of darkness, causing so many harm to innocent people in several ways. Now, James is an adult, and everything changed after he embarked on this mission. In his 20s, he became a grandmaster in an occult, and he was sent to the university with the sole aim of recruiting bright students and also attacking the churches and destroying marriages. Through the financial aid he was able to get from the occult, he was able to lure about 500 bright students in the university to join his cause. Now here is where his problem began. There was a very small church in Uganda who was embarking in a covenant prayer according to James. He said this group of people had laws governing them in this covenant prayers. 1, the prayers is going to be made for 90 days. 2, everybody is going to pray together for 6 hours from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. And they also said that no one is going to join them. If any of them miss a minute out of the 6 hours in the 90 days, they will have to refresh it and start all over again. This was the covenant between this group of people. Unknowing to those people making this prayer, according to James, in the occult, they already know that if these people continue this prayer and successfully end it, they are going to control the spiritual realm for 70 years. So in order to stop it, they sent James, but not to attack them. In other words, he should try to make them stop praying so that this control of the spiritual realm for 70 years will not happen. The occultic group knew about this control for 70 years, but the prayer group had no idea what they were going to achieve after making this prayer. The occult gave James a spiritual history of everyone in the prayer group. This will prove to you that the devil deals on legal handwritings. He went through them, and after that he was able to realize that 1, the pastor likes money. 2, the church needs a singer. And then 3, the people in the group are not financially buoyant and they will need financial help. And then 4, one of the sisters that are praying in the church has a bitterness against the treatment of her mom earlier in life. Those were the weaknesses that they grabbed and they used it to attack this church. First of all, they sent one of the students and funded her with money. She looked very rich and she approached them. When she got to them, she asked to join them. And then the lady that had some bitterness with the mom told her, "You cannot join us." And then she purposely said, "You are as mean as your mom." And she was very angry. And this was actually done in order to poke her so that she would act crazy. And then when she became angry, they started having an argument. And that was an opportunity for the devil to have a foothold on the prayer ground, according to James. And after the argument, they allowed her into the prayers. And when she came in, she started spreading money to all of them, everybody that needed financial help. And then through her, 3 more sisters joined them. One was a singer. And according to James, he said, immediately the singer mounted the altar to sing praises and worship. She defied the altar. According to James, they bought the pastor a furnished house very far away from the prayer ground. The idea was to make him late to the church. And they also bought him a car, but then the pastor does not know how to drive. And then they gave the pastor a sister who would be a driver. But then the sister is part of the occult. They all did this in order to make the pastor come late to the prayers. The pastor saw this as a blessing from God without knowing that this was a snare of the devil. On the second day to the 90th day to end this prayer and fasting, one of the occultic sisters threw a question. James did not reveal what this question is, but she threw those questions openly to the hearing of everybody to the pastor. And this infuriated the pastor. The pastor was so angry that he mistakenly angrily said, "I will you do not know who I am." And that caused a serious problem. There was crisis in the church and the house was divided. The people that were receiving money from these occultic sisters were siding this occultic sister, and then the other people were also supporting the pastor. This caused a chaos, and then at the end of the day, they didn't have any prayer that day, and that ended the covenant prayer. And all the spiritual gains they were going to get from praying for 80-something days were all lost within a twinkle of an eye. According to James, in the occultic world, this was a success, so he was summoned to be appreciated. On 3rd of September 1995, he was all dressed up, ready to go. On his way, he saw this strange-looking girl. She was 19 years old, who was a student in the campus. He ignored this girl on his way, and then the girl called him James. And according to James, he said no one calls him by his name. He is known by the lecturers and the students as Master, and that is what everybody calls him. So on hearing that name, he was so angry. But then he decided to continue going to where he is going. And then the girl called him the second time, James. He was so angry. And then the third time, he felt it was a threat. And then he decided to punish the girl just a little. According to him, he said he wanted to make the girl become a lunatic. So with his anger and his intent, he turned immediately to strike this girl. He saw flashes of lights coming out from this girl. In his words, he said the girl didn't know what was happening, but these flashes of light were harmful to James. And when this came out from the girl to him, he realized that his powers was stripped. And then immediately he decided to summon more powers. And then some demons came, not seen by this girl, but James could see them. They all came together and merged as one in James. And this time around, he decided to strike one more time, but he was surprised to see that this girl was covered by a pillar of light, and behind the light was a strange man that he couldn't explain. All this was happening without the girl knowing.
600 forces join into one. So I have to look at her one more time, and I'm not seeing her. I'm just seeing a pillar of light connecting into heaven.
And when he saw this, suddenly the whole demons left him in different directions without him understanding what was going. And immediately he was stripped of his powers, and he became very scared again. And he saw himself coming back as a child, 4 years old. That's his 4 years vulnerable state. And he was so scared. And this girl walked up to him, and he said in his words that each time the girl stepped close to him, the ground shakes. He started crying and he was shivering. He closed his eye, trying to stay away from this girl, but the girl kept coming. While he was crying, the girl held him close, and people were surprised in the campus, seeing Master, the dreaded Master, crying with this girl that seems to be a born again. This girl took James home and prayed for him. James said he felt so tired that he slept for 48 good hours. And when he finally woke up, the girl confessed to James that God appeared to her in a dream and instructed her to go and deliver James. Knowing how dreaded James is, she initially tried to avoid it, but then she couldn't, as this was an instruction from God. So all that she did wasn't by her powers, it was through a more superior power, stronger than that of James. Today, James is saved. He is now an intercessor, although people call him a pastor, reaching out to many people. If you've not watched the first part of this video, you might want to watch the next video, and then it will make more sense. And remember, at the end of the day, you are always the judge. Peace.